So as this weekend is starting up, many activities are happening. Families are preparing for backyard barbecues, picnics, trips to the coast or the mountains. Others will honor fallen soldiers that lost their lives in wars past and present. Brian Wilson, age 71, Vietnam veteran, member of Veterans for Peace, Chapter 72 here in Portland. And Diane Wilson, an environmental activist, anti-war activist, an author from Texas and with Code Pink. And John Pope, age 48, construction worker, supporter of Veterans for Peace from Florida. All are fasting in solidarity with the Guantanamo prisoners on a hunger strike. This is the year, this year there is no other major protest. What am I saying? This year there is also the Monsanto protests, which I said is happening all over the world. And Monsanto is at war with farmers, environmentalists, and families that want healthy, non-GMO pesticides and free foods. The name Monsanto triggers my PTSD. My heart breaks, and Vietnam is ever present. Old wounds surface, those are the memories. So I wrote this statement in solidarity with this march. The Vietnam War is unfortunately still a reality for millions of Vietnamese and Americans and their children who continue to suffer from the effects of Agent Orange. For 10 years, from 1961 to 1971, the U.S. military sprayed 20 million gallons of toxic herbicides, including Agent Orange, over large sections of Vietnam. Agent Orange contains dioxin, one of the most dangerous chemicals known to man. The World Health Organization considers dioxin to be a carcinogen, which causes cancer. The American Academy of Medicine classifies dioxin as a teratogen. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce oftentimes what I can write, but causes birth defects. People exposed to Agent Orange have died or become totally incapacitated by diseases that the U.S. government recognizes as related to dioxin exposure for purposes of paying compensation to Vietnam veterans in the United States. Children born to parents exposed to dioxin during the war and people in areas of heavy spraying, hotspots, which are various areas in Vietnam which people are still suffering from horrible deformities. I served in areas of heavy dioxin spraying in Vietnam. Thought I had survived the war and would be able to return to a normal life until my firstborn son was hit by friendly fire, a chemical weapon that can cripple or kill. Casey was born with a cleft palate, prune belly, congenital heart disease, and other birth anomalies. He suffered a seizure that took him from his mother's arms to a pediatric ICU neonatal center here in Portland. In a few weeks, my wife and I were able to take Casey home. Our life was anything but normal. What with learning to care for Casey's special needs and the hundreds of doctor's appointments, a year later, our second child was born, healthy, beautiful baby girl. We named her Harmony. Casey and Harmony played, fought, laughed over the silliest things. They marveled at the world around them, and their love grew deep and inseparable. Arlene and I felt that we had been spared the worst prognosis for Casey's future. Then came the day for Casey to have heart surgery. It's a little too painful to tell that whole story. But Casey went into a coma after the surgery for 7 weeks, and while in my arms, Casey took his last breaths and was no more. You think you know pain, but the loss of my son was a bayonet to my heart, and I nearly lost my sanity. Grief took me to the depths of hell, but for the love of my wife and daughter, I would have perished. I know what it is like to be, now I know what it's like to be Vietnamese. To have your heart ripped out, to stand by helplessly watching your children suffer, to see them as prisoners in their own bodies and losing them because of a war that should never have been and a toxic chemical that never should have been used. Although it's been 52 years since the first spraying of Agent Orange in Vietnam, there's a Vietnamese newspaper that reported that 62 blood samples taken recently at random from residents of Da Nang all tested positive for dioxin. The project was sponsored by the Ford Foundation and the Hatfield Consultants. The ghosts of our children cry out for justice. It is time to repair the damage and to recognize the suffering of families and the Vietnamese and ours. We of the Vietnam Agent Orange Relief and Responsibility Campaign, along with Veterans for Peace, are now rewriting legislation to provide medical, rehabilitative, and social services compensation to Vietnamese victims of Agent Orange, remediation of dioxin contaminants in hotspots, that's to clean it up, medical services for children and grandchildren of U.S. Vietnam veterans and Vietnamese American-born with the same diseases and deformities. 52 years is long enough to wait to provide compensation for the victims of this shameful chapter in our nation's history. Thus today, on May 25th, 2013, as the legacy of Monsanto continues, its disregard for human, animal, and plant life of the very substance we need to survive are poisoned or genetically modified with grave consequences for our future and the future of the planet. Therefore, we of the Vietnam Agent Orange Relief and Responsibility Campaign and Veterans for Peace are joining we join the march today in solidarity with all the people across the world.